Morning, third grade. We are back at it, and I'm going to tell you something. This is our last lesson of this module. Can you believe it? This is the end of graphs and data. So how awesome is that? This lesson is a little bit longer, so just settle in, get excited. You're going to get to draw apples. So let's begin. Let's read the bottom first, as we do. Lesson 9 says, analyze data to problem solve. Okay, we will. Please read number 1 with me. 4 children went apple picking. The chart shows the number of apples the children picked. Find the number of apples Roxanne picked to complete the chart. We got a missing number here. How can we figure out how many apples Roxanne picked? I agree. If we add up the number of apples that Stuart, Trisha, and Philip picked and subtract that from 72, the remainder will be the number that Roxanne picked. So let's do that. I'm just going to kind of use this side area here to figure out how many the other 3 kids picked altogether. 6 plus 2, 8. 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 2 is 4. 48. Is that right? Okay, all right. All right, so 72 minus 48. Wow, Roxanne. She's really pulling her weight here. Roxanne picked 24. She rocked it. Okay. Now, let's go down to B. Will you read this with me, please? Create a picture graph below using the data in the table. Okay. So we're going to, for each of these blank lines, it says child, right? That was the label. So we're going to put the child's names here, and then we're going to draw apples, because it says picture graph, not a bar graph, not, a line plot. Oh, hi, you can't see that, I'm sorry. So we're going to draw apples for the number that they picked. Now, looking at these numbers, we don't have to draw 16 or 24 apples. There is a number that we can use for all of these so that one of our apples can represent more than one apple. What number do you see that's common? What can we divide all of these by to get a number that we want? We could do 2, right? They're all even numbers. So we could do 2. We'd have to draw 8 apples, 12 apples, 6 apples, or 10 apples. Can we divide these by 3? Some of them. We can divide this one by 3. We can divide this one by 3. What about 4? Yes, let's do that. It's less apple drawing. Apples aren't the easiest things to draw. We're going to do 4. So this is your little key, right? So draw your first little apple right here. Kind of looks like a cherry. It's fine. So 1 apple is going to equal 4 apples. Okay. Now let's fill in the kids' names down here. I'm going to start with Stuart. And then Roxanne. Apple picking rock star, Trisha. And Philip. You know what's funny? I love the name Philip, but I don't like the name Phil. Isn't that interesting? Not really. Anyway, moving on, back to math. Let's talk about Stuart. He picked 16 apples altogether. If we divide 16 by 4, what number will we get, and how many apples do we need to draw? Did you say 4? You're right. Great job. Let's draw 4 apples for Stuart. There's 1. Oh, man. Ooh, that one's looks like a tomato. 2. 3. I hope your apples are looking better than mine. 4. My first one was actually not bad now that I look back at it. All right. Give you a moment. Okay. How about Roxanne? How many apples do we need to draw for Roxanne? If we count by 4, we have 4, 8, 12, 16. Beautiful. How many apples do we need to draw for Roxanne? She got the most. This is going to be our most taxing apple drawing experience right here. 24 divided by 4 is... You did it. You're right. It's 6. So let's draw 6 apples. I don't know why I drew that one so big. Okay. 3. Do you see how I'm trying, even though they're not really the same size, I am keeping them at the same, vertically, right? They're at the same spot. So that's, even if they don't look exactly the same size or look exactly the same even, at least they can be in the same, going across or at the same spot. That's 4. 5. That one looks like an orange. That one, don't eat that one. That one's bad. 6. We did it. Oh my goodness. All right. You ready to move on? If you're not, pause. If you are, great. Trisha picked 12 apples. If we divide 12 by 4, we'll get 3. You got it. Thank you, Trisha. I only have to draw 3 for you. 1. 2. 3. Okay. And if we count by 4s, I didn't do that on Roxanne, but let's do that now. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and 24. Let's count by 4s for Trisha. 4, 8, 12. Great. Now we get to our last one, which is Philip. And he picked 20. 20 divided by 4 is, correct, 5. So let's draw 5 apples for Philip. Three. 4 and 5. There are my 5 apples. I'm a little bit high on this one. If you want to take a picture of this and send it to me, I would love to see how your picture graph looks compared to mine. Email me a picture. I would love to see it because mine is leaving something to be desired. All right. Let's flip, and now we're going to analyze our data. Analyze data to problem solve, right? Okay, it says use the chart or graph to answer the following questions. How many more apples did Stuart and Roxanne pick than Philip and Trisha? Let us write our sentence at the bottom. We're going to start with that, and then we can solve that problem. Okay, so Stuart, I call him Stu. And Roxanne, I call her Roxy, picked blank more apples than Philip and Trisha, I call her Trish. And we already talked about why I don't abbreviate Philip. Okay, there we go. How many more apples did Stuart and Roxanne pick than Philip and Trisha? So I'm going to write S and R up here and P and T to figure out how many each of them picked. So Stuart and Roxanne, Stuart picked 16, Roxanne picked 24. Let's add those together. 16 plus 24. Go ahead and do that math real quick. Did you get 40? Fabulous. And Philip and Trisha. Let's see. Trisha picked 12. Philip picked 20. Let's add those together. Okay. Now, we know how many apples Stuart and Roxanne picked. We know how many apples Philip and Trisha picked. How are we going to figure out how many more Stuart and Roxanne picked? Agreed. Let's subtract. We need to take away 32 from 40 to figure out how many more these two picked. There it is, 8. Stu and Roxy picked 8 more apples than Philip and Trish. Love it. Okay. Let us read B together. Trisha and Stuart combine their apples to make apple pies. Each pie takes 7 apples. How many pies can they make? What a great idea. So Trisha and Stuart, I think Trisha had 12, I want to say. Yeah, Trisha had 12, Stuart had 16. So let's add 12 and 16 together. And let's write our sentence because I'm getting ahead of myself. So do that math real quick. And let's write our sentence. I apologize. How many pies can they make? So our sentence will say, they can make blank apple pies. If you want to just say pies, that's fine. No worries. Okay, so they have a total of 28 apples. Each pie takes 7 apples to make. So, what can we do next? How can we figure this out? We have 28. Agreed. I hear you. When you can divide by 7, right? 28 apples divided by 7 apples is going to give us how many pies? Absolutely. Another way you can think about it is, what can you multiply by 7 to get 28, right? So they can make 4 apple pies. That's a lot of apple pies for 2 people. Hopefully they share. Okay. Let us move on to number 3. Move this up a little bit for us. Please read with me. Ms. Pacho's science class measured the lengths of blades of grass from their school field to the nearest 1/4 inch. The lengths are shown below. That's an interesting choice to measure blades of grass, but, you know, why not? Okay, we're going to move on to our next page. I think what I'll do is I'll move this up here, move this down here so I can see both. Okay. So then it says, make a line plot of the grass data. Explain your choice of scale. Okay, no problem. We're up for the challenge, right? So let's make our little, what did I use before? I use this, okay. I'm going to first make my line. How am I supposed to explain my choice of scale? Okay, maybe didn't need it that long, but that's okay. What should our title be for this? Blade, grass, grass, blade length. If you have a better title, then write it. Grass, blade length. Hopefully that's plenty. Okay, now we have to figure out what we're going to put on our scale, right? Where we're going to start, where we're going to end. So let's start with that. Let's start with what is our smallest measurement so that we know what we're going to put on this side. Smallest measurement. Point to it when you find it. I think this is the smallest measurement. Do you agree with me? Thank you. So 2 inches. Oh, we need to put inches down here to label our. doodad. Okay, what's our longest length? Point to it when you've found it, please. Yes, 3 3/4 inches. Okay, so from here, again, they measured to the, they measured to the nearest 1/4 inch. So we need to boop, 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 chop this into fourths. Okay, so we're gonna go from 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2. Okay, so let's start that now. 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2. Okay. Pretty sweet looking line plot. Now let's plot these. We have a lot. They measured a lot of blades of grass. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 24 blades of grass to plot. So let's just get after it. I like how I'm using green and we're plotting grass. It's a good choice. Okay. 2 1/4. Boop, boop. 2 3/4. 3. 3 1/4. 2 3/4. 3 3/4. 2 1/2. 2 1/4. 3 1/4. 2. 3 1/4. 3 3/4. 3. 2 3/4. 2 1/4. 3. 2 1/2. 3 3/4. 2 3/4. 3 1/4. 2 3/4. 3 1/4. Oh my goodness, that's a lot. 3. 2 3/4. Whew. If you need a moment, go ahead and catch up. Just pause and make sure you plot all the points. Make sure you're crossing out as you go so you know what you've plotted and what you haven't. And then we're going to move on. It says, how many blades of grass were measured? Explain how you know. So I've already done this. I don't know if you remember. But there are a couple of different ways we could do that, right? So what I did was up here, I just counted rows and columns, multiplied, kind of used an array situation, and multiplied 4 times 6 to get 24. You could also count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, sure, right? You could also count all of your line plots, all of the points that you plotted on the line to see. So whatever method you would have used if I hadn't done that before I knew that they were going to ask that question, that's what I'd like you to do. Okay, so that's how you can explain what you know. I'm going to write 24 blades of grass. Why do I have such a hard time saying that? Blades of grass were measured. For my explain how you know, I said I counted the number of measurements. Simple, but true. Okay, let's move on to C. Will you please read with me? What was the length measured most frequently on the line plot? How many blades of grass had this length? So looking at the line plot, it's pretty easy to see that this one is the longest. Has the most, rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Has 6. Okay, so I'm going to write the length measured most frequently was 2 3/4 inches. There's 6. 1, 2, 3, yes. 6 blades of grass measured this height. Okay, ready to move on? Great. If you're not, you know what to do. Please read with me a D. Please read D with me. How many more blades of grass measured 2 3/4 inches than both 3 3/4 inches and 2 inches combined? Let's see. I don't know. So let's write our sentence at the bottom before we get into the math of it all. So I'm going to say blank blades of grass measured 2 3/4 inches and 3 3. Oh, sorry, I wrote that wrong. So I'm going to say blank blades of grass measured 2 3/4 inches than 3 and, oops, that's not 3. 3 3/4 inches and 2 inches combined. Okay, I apologize for my misstep. Okay, so now let's pop back up to our line plot and see, because we don't know. We know that there are 6 that measured 2 3/4, but how many measured 2.5 and, no, 2 inches, excuse me, and 3 3/4 inches combined? Let's see. We have 1 for 2 inches and 1, 2, 3 for 3 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 all together. And there were 6 here. So if we do 6 minus 4, we'll get 2. And our answer is 2. And that, my friends, is the end of Module 6. Can you believe it? So next time we're back here, we will be starting Module 7, which is something. I think it's geometry. Word problems. We're starting, lesson 1 is word problems. That's all I know. So get excited. I will see you back here. I miss you all, and take care.